This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
If you like the sweet science, get ready to talk boxing on the Gloved Fist podcast with top boxing writers Frank Latirzo and Jack Hirsch. Frank, a former amateur boxer out of Philadelphia, writes for NY Fights and can be seen on the Boxing Channel. Jack, an amateur boxer who competed in the New York Golden Gloves, was a 6-term president of the Boxing Writers Association. And now, here's Frank Latirzo and Jack Hirsch.
And we're back. Welcome to Gloved Fist. My name is Frank Latirzo, part-time writer, full-time observer, joined by Jack Hirsch, former 6-term president of the Boxing Writers Association of America. Jack, how are you tonight?
Hey, really good, Frank. I'm really pumped up about a lot's going on tonight, Frank. Not only our show, but we got the 7th game of the American League playoffs between the Mariners and Blue Jays to see who is going to have the honor of losing 4 straight to the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series. And we got 2 NFL games, and one of them's a great game, the Lions and the Buccaneers.
Jack, this is a boxing show. What are you doing?
When our show is over, to tune in.
Right. Jack, I don't have much interest in baseball. I just wanted the Phillies eliminated. They're out. I have a lot of interest in the Buccaneers and the Lions because it's a big NFC showdown. Me being an Eagles hater, I'm always looking for the team that can unseat them. I haven't seen that team yet, but maybe it's one of these teams. I know you're a Bucks guy. You picked the Bucks to be in the Super Bowl. I think that pick
tonight. They lose to the Lions tonight.
But they'll lose tonight. Okay. I think it's unbelievable how Baker Mayfield has turned his career around and his perception. And he's like, you could make a case he might be in the lead for the MVP right now. But I still think, Jack, when all is said and done, the Vultures, the Philadelphia Vultures, will come out of the NFC. I hope that I'm wrong. I believe I'm going to be right. And in college football, my pick of the Buckeyes to repeat is looking good.
Good, they are. But one of these days, we're going to compare the athletes in other sports to boxers. Who is who? Okay? We're going to compare the boxers to the athletes. For example, a Bernard Hopkins would be like a Derek Jeter. You know, they're greater fighters, but his longevity, his consistency, stuff like that, we could have fun with it someday. But the big news last weekend, I guess, and it wasn't that busy a weekend, let's be honest about it. Most weekends in boxing aren't that exciting, but when you hit a high point, there's nothing like it when Canelo fought Crawford. But of course, we're going to have a little bit of a letdown, but it was Danny Garcia had center stage. I mean, he promoted his own show at the Barclays Center. It was a 14-fight show that if you had the patience to sit through it and fight after fight was going the distance on the undercard.
Did you go?
So I didn't go. No, I had things to do. In all honesty, it wasn't a strong card. The fighter he was fighting, Danny Gonzalez, I've seen fight a good number of times. Danny Gonzalez had absolutely no chance of winning the fight unless Danny Garcia was completely faded. That would be his only way. And he wasn't completely faded. He just had to be like 60, 70% of himself, and that would have been more than enough. And it was. And he knocked out, Danny Gonzalez, a very game fighter, not a bad fighter. He's just not of the caliber Danny Garcia. I don't mean to put Danny Gonzalez down because he is
no, they're different levels.
Fighter. Different levels. Yeah, thank you. You put it that way. And even the undercard fights, you had some names on there, some Philadelphia guys, Joey Dawechko, he got stopped in the fight. Gabriel Rosado won his fight, but you knew beforehand the matchups, they didn't look 50-50, on paper per se, but it wasn't a bad array of talent. But these boxing shows, Frank, they end way too late. And I'm not sure when this one ended, but with all the fights going to
too many fights that people don't care about, too hard to find.
And this was Danny Garcia's 10th fight at the Barclays Center, and I had seen him fight 8 times previously at the Barclays Center against good competition, elite competition like Eric Morales, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Azab Judah. So I had a great read on Danny Garcia. I don't need a fight at the end of his career because he built it. Listen to this, Frank. He built it as a farewell fight. That was the attraction in the promos, his farewell fight. Guess what? As soon as the fight was over, he left the door open to fighting again. I mean,
Shocker.
come on. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, you're joking, I'm sure, right, with that.
Right.
Yeah, of course. But there should be consumers, Frank, who should be able to have like a class action lawsuit. Well, we all bought our tickets based on this as your farewell fight. And we showed up specially, because we're nostalgic. Yeah, and these guys, they milk it out. You know something interesting, okay? Your favorite Sugar Ray Robinson, his last fight, like I don't have to tell you, was November 10th, 1965.
65.
Against Joey Archer. As soon as the fight was over, Don Elbaum, the promoter, tried to get him to announce his retirement in the ring because Ray thought that was going to be enough, but he held off. So everyone does it their own way. Certain guys just fade away and they never announce, like Floyd Patterson, never announced his retirement. And retirements are meaningless to announce, Frank, because guys are always coming back. It's not like other sports.
No, we don't take it serious. And it's, again, because it's boxing, they don't have to qualify for a team or to make a team. It's just, it's more independent and freelance. I never really thought Danny was going to retire, even though he said this. And the fact that he looked good and had a one-punch knockout with a big left hook, he probably still thinks he has a couple more in him. And Jack, there are paydays out there for him. He would still be a good name for some junior middleweights out there. I mean, and let's face it, other than Lara, he's never really been taken apart.
Yeah, I don't see what they're out them exactly and what weight division it would be in. I mean, could he fight one of the Charlo brothers? I mean, he already lost to Errol Spence. I don't see anything impactful. I think he would be in the role of an opponent. I could see him fighting. If Conor Benn, for example, beats Chris Eubank, I can see a match maybe with Danny Garcia. They make the weight somewhat similar. They bring him to England. He's got name value. He wouldn't beat Conor Benn at this point in his career. Something like that, I could see.
I just think you could put him in with any name, Jack, and it would be a good second-tier dual main event where he would fight before the main event. Because he still has a name, and again, he hasn't really been taken apart, has a little bit of a following, so he checks a lot of boxes. He doesn't have to go out yet. And Jermell Charlo, according to our buddy Joe Bergman, is calling out Boots. That fight would be interesting.
Charlo, quiet down. You got beaten badly by Canelo, and you're calling out Boots. No, who cares about that fight? There'd be no interest in it, none at all. I mean, Keith Thurman was calling out Boots. These guys, they don't fight. They sit on their rear end, and now they're calling Boots out.
Jack, it is a business. Charlo sees a payday and maybe a chance where he could pull an upset and get paid again. That's what it's about. Do I like it? No. But it's part of the sport, and that's what it's about. It's not a fight that you want to see, nor do I want to see it. And we both know that Boots would stop Charlo more impressively than Canelo beat him. But it's a name fight, and they both have. And look, Boots against anybody's going to draw now, especially a guy like Charlo that's been around. It's not going to be a competitive fight, but I think that it could be sold. Could be made, and they'll make us pay for it. And some people will do that. We won't be able to find it, and we'll get the same result. And we know Boots will win. And then people will say, "Well, Charlo's nobody," and it's just the same rigmarole.
I understand a fighter who's earned the rights to pick his spots, avoiding a certain fighter, calling an opponent out. An example, Teofimo Lopez. We had his dad on the show, and as soon as he signs for a big fight, we hope to have him directly on the show. I think it could be easily arranged. But there's been talk of Shakur Stevenson fighting Teofimo Lopez. Now, I think that's a bad matchup for Teofimo, a very bad matchup. I don't like it, but I think Teofimo beats the winner of the Brian Norman Devin Haney fight, especially Devin Haney, who doesn't have a strong chin. And Lopez, I got to believe, even though he's moved up in weights and hasn't gotten the stoppages, I got to believe the power's still there when push comes to shove. So
I think Norman's going to beat Haney, Jack. I told you that.
But I think Lopez would then beat Norman. Either one, I think he defeats. But a Haney fight is just as appealing to the public, I think, a Lopez Haney as a Lopez Stevenson one would be. So why fight Shakur Stevenson? Shakur Stevenson, provoked some thought in me today. I don't know why. I was thinking of spoilers in boxing throughout my lifetime. I think Shakur Stevenson is the greatest modern day spoiler, has the worst style for anyone to fight. That's what I think. Pernell Whitaker was that way. Okay, Jimmy Young was that way. There were better.
I was thinking of Jimmy Young.
Jimmy Young, you kind of wonder, with his shutdown style, he may have given any heavyweight in history major problems on a given night when he was in his prime.
Except the Swarmers, but anybody else, yes.
Except the Swarmers. You don't feel you think Smoking Joe would have walked through him?
Yes, that's a bad matchup because Jimmy gives you his body. The boxers and the counter punchers, Jack, he can make them look bad. But the guys that would be right in his chest, that would be banging on his body, they're a bad matchup for him. But any of the other guys, he'd be up there.
No, Ken Norton was a Swarmer part of the time.
Somewhat, but he still was a tall guy with a long reach that still came in behind a jab. He didn't come in bobbing and weaving and trying to go to the body first. He did go to the body, and when he did that, he had success against Young. I just think Frazier, Tyson, guys like that would be all wrong for Jimmy Young. And I agree, Joe. I think Lopez would beat Haney, but I would pick Brian Norman to beat Lopez or Haney.
Okay, well, see, you're high on Brian Norman and me, but in all fairness, when they first announced the Norman Haney fight, I was going with Norman, but then I gave it a lot more thought and I kind of switched because I think
Norman's a little underrated, Jack, but I have something for you.
Maybe. We'll find out in the Haney fight.
We'll find out.
We'll get our answer. But I'm going to say this. Haney, I think, is going to fight a very conservative fight. And he could box his way to victory by just, boxing and moving against Norman.
Against who?
Brian Norman.
You're right. That would be the way to fight him. I would just bet that Norman doesn't let him do that for 12 rounds. That's the deciding part of the fight.
Since we were talking a little on the Jimmy Young era and other guys, we didn't mention Jerry Quarry, but you said before the show about Joseph Parker reminding you of Jerry Quarry. He fights this weekend against Fabio Wardley. Now, Fabio Wardley can fight.
Yes, he can.
He can fight. It's not a gimme for Parker. So let's give Parker credit for taking a risk. Is it a major risk? If you're as good as Parker is or thinks he is, it's not a major risk, but it is at least a moderate risk.
Jack, it's a risk because if he beats him, what does he gain? You and I will give him props, but across the board, they'll say who's Ward fought? Who has he fought any good? His best teammate on his record, maybe Eric Molina.
It's not as much of a risk as you think from this perspective, Frank. No one, and I mean no one outside of Frank Laterzo, is asking how come Joseph Parker isn't being given a shot at the title. As much as, and you admire Parker a great deal, and he's earned your admiration. He's earned it. I get all that. But there's no demand to see Joseph Parker fight. He's got to take these fights. He's got to force the issue. And to his credit, he is forcing the issue.
Jack, that's why he reminds me of Quarry. He will fight anybody. He's not quite good enough to beat the cream of the crop and the elite. But on a given night, he's capable of beating anybody. He's a likable guy. He's a type guy that you root for. But every time he's in that big fight, you worry about, can he pull it off? Is he going to do it? So and another thing like Quarry is stylistically, they're somewhat similar. The fact that they're grinders to a degree, and they don't do any one thing particularly great. They're just a B in everything. They check the B box and everything. They're tough. They're willing. And I see a lot of similarities. That's all.
Quarry was a better fighter than Joseph Parker. I mean, I got to point that out. Parker is not
Why?
quite as good as
I
Quarry.
want to know why.
Why? Could hit a lot harder, had a lot faster hands, was more durable, was quicker, more talented. Parker,
Jack, why would you say he's more durable, though? Wait a second. Why is he more durable? Parker's only been stopped by, what's his name? Joe Joyce.
Joe Joyce.
That's it. And his eye blew up. I mean, Quarry was stopped by Cavallo. It's the same type fight.
Quarry would have taken the best version of Joe Joyce apart. Joe Joyce would have been made for Quarry, the way he moved in, easily hittable. It would have been up his alley. It would have been a potential replay of the Shavers fight, or at least the Ron Lyle fight.
Jack, I think if Parker fought Quarry and he decided to box and not go toe-to-toe, I think Quarry'd have problems.
I agree.
I'm not sure he'd lose, but I think he'd have problems because I'm not sure Quarry could hurt Parker.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it makes me think, even though it wouldn't turn out this way, when Quarry went to England to fight Jack Bodell, Quarry was never given credit for knocking Bodell out in one round. Bodell was a solid heavyweight, not world class, but top 20. And Quarry knocked him out in one round. And the British press, I mean, they were badgering Quarry. Quarry wanted to be polite, but they kept asking him questions. They kept wanting him to give Bodell credit. And he didn't know what to say. How do you give a guy credit who you KO'd in one round easily? So they said, did you find Bodell to be awkward? And Quarry said, well, he fell awkwardly. So that was his line. You know,
but Jack, I just see the similarities there. It's like, you know, so many different things. We're like they're grinders, they're tweeners. Nobody is ever awed by Joseph Parker. I don't know if we were ever really totally awed by Quarry.
Zhang, the Chinese heavyweight, knocked down Parker a couple of times.
But he didn't beat him.
He didn't beat him, but Parker wins a close decision there in that fight. And
Jack, Joe Alexander with 9 fights knocked down Jerry Quarry, almost knocked him out. You picked your spots here.
Wait.
That fight was at the Garden. Quarry was hurt, Jack. He didn't get up till 9.
But
or in New York, I meant to say.
In Nassau Coliseum, it was in Uniondale, Long Island. But that was the fight before Quarry fought Frazier the second time. But
so he gets the pass?
Well, Frank Laterzo, you failed to mention this if you're saying how hurt Quarry was. He got knocked down in the first round, but he knocked Alexander out in the second round. He corrected the
and Parker came back to beat Zhang. But I don't care if he didn't knock him out. He beat him. There was no question about the outcome of the fight.
It was close on the cards, as I recall, and it went to distance. It went to distance close on the cards.
Alexander had what, Jack? 9 fights? 10 fights?
It's one of those things that it happens. It's one of those.
Okay, so against Quarry it happens, but Parker gets knocked down by a giant, and it's like, now we got to kill him.
Quarry took.
Come on, Jack. Don't be one of those old guys. Like, I'm an old guy too, but one of them old guys that like everything back then was great, and those guys weren't fallible. I mean, come on. Quarry had a lot of bad outings, and I love him.
Yeah, well, I'm saying Quarry's quality was far superior to Joseph Parker's. Quarry fought the likes and he beat Floyd Patterson, not giving credit on that. I mean, just wins like that. You know, an unbeaten Ron Lyle. Mac Forst at the time was unbeaten, highly touted.
Parker he fought Wilder. He fought Joshua. He fought everybody but Usyk and Fury. And Usyk wasn't there when he was making his run.
Parker is a good fighter. On a given night, I suppose.
And so was Jerry Quarry, a good fighter.
Look, let me put it this way. Do you consider Parker any type of a serious threat to Usyk if he could secure the fight? A serious threat?
No, just like I didn't consider Quarry a serious threat threat to Frazier or Ali. Exactly.
Okay.
No, I don't think he doesn't beat Usyk. And if Fury could get in shape, he probably wouldn't beat him either.
Okay, but as I put it in perspective, Parker deserves an opportunity to fight for the title.
Of course he does.
He's
More than
earned it.
anybody, really.
I give him his due. I just think, you could be enthusiastic about Parker based on merit, not based on how good a fighter he is. He's not like
Exactly, Jack. That's my point. I don't think he's great. I just think for his era and for what's out there, he'll fight anybody. He's consistent, and he doesn't have a glaring weakness. He just doesn't have a superpower either as a fighter like Usyk or Fury had, or Joshua or something, those guys. I'm just saying, compared to their era, Parker is, to this heavyweight era, what Quarry was to his era. Now, I'm not saying that this era is as good as the era that Quarry was in. Absolutely not. But I think they're kind of on the same level. If you want to say Quarry's an overall better fighter, I'm not going to argue against that. I'm just going to argue against, when you pick on Parker a little bit, you forget that Quarry had some bad nights too against guys that weren't all that great.
If Parker defeats Fabio Wardley, I'm going to be pretty ticked off at Usyk if he fights someone else besides Parker, if he's continuing fighting in his next fight, because Joseph Parker would have completely earned the opportunity. Plus, he never fought Usyk before, and Usyk fought Fury twice, Joshua twice, Dubois twice. I don't want to see him fight someone else. I don't want to see Usyk take an easy fight with someone else unless we have an ironclad promise that it's a Usyk farewell fight. If it's a farewell fight, then Parker has to be next in line to fight for the vacant title for sure. And Parker's waited long enough here. But then again, you can't put Usyk down for the guys he's been fighting because they've earned the fights with him.
Jack, I agree that Usyk probably should fight Parker. But if he does, and he beats him convincingly, will you give Usyk credit?
Yeah, of course.
Or will you just say Parker lost to this guy and that guy, so it's not a big deal?
Parker is a pretty good fighter. He does. I'm talking from this perspective, Frank. Elite, world class levels, like you mentioned before. Usyk is on a higher level than Parker. Fury is on a higher level than Parker. They're different levels. Parker's on, if this were a team, Frank, Parker would be an outstanding backup quarterback who could come in and your team could win with him. They could win with Joseph. Okay? That's what I mean. But obviously, the elite guys we were talking about, the Teofimo Lopez's, different weight classes, the Tank Davises, Canelo Alvarez's, of course, Crawford, Fury, Usyk. These guys are like on that higher level. Parker's on he could be a leader.
Jack, Parker is every bit as accomplished as Teofimo Lopez. Okay, he is. I'm sorry. If you look at who's Teofimo Lopez beat, Jack?
Lomachenko, a monster victory.
Okay, he beat Lomachenko. He pulled that fight out, and he beat the other. He beat the kid from Britain. I forget his name.
Josh Taylor.
Yeah. They're two good wins, but Parker has wins, all not quite to that level, but he's more consistent and he's fought better guys.
The one win by Lopez over Lomachenko is bigger than all of Parker's wins combined. I'm sorry about it. That was a monster victory over Lomachenko.
That was huge at the time, Jack, but has he really parlayed it that much?
No. I agree with you 100%. No, his career and how he's been promoted and handled after that. No, they didn't parlay that. And that's a shame because Teofimo Lopez should have been turned into a boxing's biggest stars because he's charismatic. He's got the personality. And then you beat Lomachenko. He should have been so big.
You're right. He has the type guy you could love or hate. He should be a star. You're right. And he's not. It's not all his fault either. It's not all his fault either.
In the Kambosos fight, but his dad swears he had this life-threatening condition, and that's the reason why. But the bottom
And if
line
we
is
had Parker, I'm sure he had issues when he lost to Joshua and Joyce.
But we agree on this. If Joseph Parker beats Wardley, I don't care whether he's impressive or not, whether it's even a controversial split decision. He's earned this right. He's already earned this right to fight for the title. He's already earned it. No more messing with. I don't want Lomachenko to have a farewell fight if it's not James. Parker. I don't want it.
You mean Usyk?
Usyk, I mean. I don't want Usyk to have a farewell fight unless.
Well, Jack, what if Ward beats Parker? Should Usyk fight him?
No, he doesn't have any application. He can. It would be a credible fight in that sense.
Who should Usyk fight next, Jack?
Parker.
Parker?
Absolutely.
If he wins.
If he wins, absolutely.
Okay.
If Parker loses,
and if Parker doesn't win, then who should Usyk fight? Because I'm not sure if Parker's going to win.
I'm not sure who would be out there that would really interest you. That's
there's only one name, Jack, and it's not going to happen.
Deontay Wilder. Don't tell me that, please.
No, Moses Itama. That's the only one that has interest.
That's not going to happen. No,
that's not going. I said it's not going to happen.
Usyk was joking. He's not going to fight Itama. Itama is kidding around, sticking it to Usyk in a fun way, not in a mean-spirited way, that he's got nothing to lose if he beats him, if he loses to him. They make the fight now. Usyk is going to spank Itama. He's absolutely going to spank him. It's not going to be, Itama's not only not going to win, he's not going to push him in a close fight. It's going to be, I don't want to say it'll be completely one-sided, but it's going to be the equivalent, Frank, of a great minor league player coming up, making his debut in the major leagues, going against, the Bob Gibsons, the Roger Clemenses right off the bat. He's going to just be out of his element.
I don't see a path for Itama to win, Jack, but I will say this. He may be more dangerous to Usyk than Fury or Joshua were, because he's got power in both hands. He believes he's young. He's confident. He has fast hands, and he lets them go. Do I think that will overwhelm Usyk? No, but it will present a danger to him, especially early. But again, they're not going to fight. That's not going to happen.
No.
Jack, I want to go over something else too. What we're talking about now. We're just going from topic to topic. There's not a lot going on, but it kind of pertains to what we're talking about. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last night, who you don't know, but I value his opinion highly on this sport. And I don't know how what we were talking about. Oh, I know what it was. I mentioned I may do a post tonight on Hearns and Holyfield because they just had birthdays, and I think they had a lot in common, that they were anybody, anytime, anywhere fighters, and they were fearless. And I mentioned that Holyfield took, fighting Bo twice, Tyson twice, or Bo 3 times, Tyson twice, and Lewis. So he said that Lewis, or he kind of ripped Bo. And basically it was because Bo didn't fight Lennox Lewis. And I said, okay, but Rock Newman had a lot to do with that. I thought that their Olympic fight was stopped prematurely. And at the time when the fight was big, after Lewis beat Ruddock and Bo beat Holyfield the first time, that's when the fight should have been made. It didn't happen. So he went on and he ripped Bo. He said, well, he's the fighter and fighters should call the shots and blah, blah, blah. So he ripped Bo. So I said to him, I said, there's a case where the fighter did step in. He made the match against the manager's wishes, and it was a disaster. Can you think of the fight that was?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm not sure, Frank. I thought of this. Whether what you told me in past shows is completely accurate, because I'm going to now call you out where you heard this. You're talking about Joe Frazier fighting Foreman. going against Yank Durham's wishes. But now I'm asking you, Frank, you're an honest guy. So if you tell me you heard it, it's good enough for me. I'd never question you if you told me the right source of information. Where did you hear that yeah, he went against Yank Durham's wishes? I mean, did you get that from the gym?
Jack, I've heard it. I've heard it from at the gym. I've heard it from Marvis, and it was in Ring Magazine countless times where Frazier said that he was not willing to give Ali wanted purse parity for the rematch. And Frazier said, no, I gave him purse parity first time. I won the fight. I'm the champion. I'm not going down that road again. And it was at the point where Frazier, because he was inactive defending against the top guys, he either had to fight Ali, who was the number one contender, or George Foreman. He would have gotten $3 million to fight Ali or $850,000 to fight Foreman. Yank Durham said, we don't know much about Foreman. He's big, he's strong, he's clumsy. We don't get a lot of credit if we beat him. Fight, and Yank called Ali Clay. Fight Clay again. The worst case scenario, we lose a decision and it's 1-1. Foreman, there's no upside. If you knock him out in 2 rounds, people will say you beat a guy that hasn't fought anybody.
Wait. It makes sense what you're saying. It makes perfect sense. But I don't remember Yank Durham ever saying it. You heard that from Marvis afterwards.
Jack,
I guess Marvis would have the inside information.
Jack, I'm telling you. Marvis went to Jamaica with Joe for the fight.
Yeah.
Jack, Joe said to Yank, if you don't make the effing fight, I'm going to make it myself. But I'm not fighting Clay again for 50-50. And it ended up where he didn't listen to Yank, and it was a disaster. So as my friend said, yes, the fighters do have final say, and they can do it. But, Jack, you know this as well as I do. These guys have a lot of people in their ear, and they don't know who to listen to sometimes. And sometimes it's just not that easy. That's all I'm saying. So he ripped Bo for listening to Newman. And I said, look, I think Bo would have beat Lewis back then because he hadn't got with Manuel Story yet. But it's like it's a catch-22 on either side.
Okay, let me go 2 points. If that is true what you're saying, and I'm gonna go on the assumption it is, okay, for 1 second. Let's call Ali out and let's criticize Ali. Because if Ali was insisting on a 50-50 split, otherwise he wasn't going to fight Frazier, and he was a challenger. And this is a guy who beat him, who he was scared might retire and might not ever give him an opportunity of redemption. You mean to tell me Ali wouldn't accept 40%, a 60-40 split? Because that probably then would have done it for Frazier. You get 60%, he gets 40%. You got to believe Frazier could have been talked into it then. Okay?
Jack.
It was 60-40. Because keep this in mind, Frank, after Frazier lost to Foreman, and he was so-called damaged goods to an extent.
He was desperate then.
Oh, wait. They went 50-50, Ali and Frazier, for the rematch. 50-50. And Frazier had no title. That's how badly Ali wanted and needed the rematch. You mean to tell me Ali, who was in good form in January 1973, looked good against Quarry the previous June in their rematch, wasn't going to take 40% to Frazier, 60%? And if the answer was no, he wouldn't, then let's condemn Ali for that, okay? Let's look at Ali a little differently.
Jack, what you just said is basically factually true, but you're leaving a big part out. Do you remember those years after March of 71, the rest of 71, 72, up until January 73? What was Ali saying on the Wide World of Sports every Saturday on the Dick Cavett Show, the Johnny Carson Show, the David Frost Show? He says, I'm the real champ. I'm the people's champ. I don't need Frazier. When he fights, they're on TV. When I fight, they're beamed all over the world. I'm the people's champ, not him. And he didn't even beat me the first time. Ali still thought he was the champion. He was still the draw. And I'm not sure that they had purse parity on the rematch. From what I remember, Ali got a little bit more money than Frazier, or a bigger percentage for the rematch, because, as you said, Frazier was damaged goods and he had nowhere to go. He wanted to get back in Foreman, and the only way he could do that was by fighting Ali. But yeah, you could say that about Ali if you wanted to tell so bad. But Jack, he was living like he was still the champ. You remember those interviews?
I do remember Ali's bravado, his talk, but he was also nervous the whole time that one Frazier could retire. And when Foreman beat Frazier, Ali admitted it upset him. He wanted to be the one to beat
He told Frazier not to fight Foreman. He actually said, that's a mistake. Don't fight him. You'll ruin our rematch. There's a chance you could lose.
Listen, Ali easily could have taken 40% at 10% less than he would have gotten, beat Frazier for the title, and it would have been a far bigger win had he won the title off Frazier, as opposed to beating Frazier in the rematch when neither of them held a title, and both of them were considered at that point inferior to George Foreman. And
Jack,
so why did
you can say that.
You give Ali a pass. You give Ali a pass now on it. I don't give him a pass.
I'm not sure I give him a pass, Jack. Jack, the reality was he was making much more money than Frazier, even though we didn't have the title. That's all he was going around saying. I don't need the title. I'm the people's champ. Everybody recognizes me. Joe Frazier's been in hiding. Nobody's seen him. I put him in the hospital for a month. He's fighting these guys, Standard and Daniels. Nobody cares about. He goes, I'm fighting all the top contenders. And what was the other thing Ali was doing back then, Jack? I told you this before. He was fighting all the contenders, so Frazier had nowhere to go but to give him a rematch. And who was the one guy that they couldn't get in the ring? George Foreman, because Dick Sadler said, Muhammad, I love you, but Joe's got the title, and he's the better fit for George. And that was the only contender Ali could never fight. He was trying to get Foreman all through 1972.
I'm talking to the intestinal fortitude of a fighter. Look at Lennox Lewis in comparison. Before Lennox Lewis got together with Emanuel Stewart, he badly wanted to fight Riddick Bowe, badly. He was willing to let Bowe keep the majority of the money. Frank Maloney, who managed Lennox Lewis at the time, he was he was exasperated. He says, he's scared Lennox will take the fight for nothing. That's how badly. The money, he made it clear, Lennox Lewis, you could get the majority of the money. I want to fight. I'll make up the money later after I, knock Bowe out. That's how badly he wanted to fight. Money.
But Jack, they hadn't fought.
But what?
You can't compare that, because Ali and Frazier at least fought. Lennox Lewis needed to beat Riddick Bowe to get his credibility, and he needed Bowe more than the opposite.
But they fought in the Olympics.
Okay, Jack.
It's not like they didn't have a history, and that was the one fight that that was the one. I'm sorry, this message just got off. But that was the one fight that people wanted to see above any other fight. Bowe and Lewis.
You're right.
Lewis did everything to make it happen.
Yes, he did. He did.
You could give Bowe a pass by saying it was Rock Newman, but at the same time, had Bowe absolutely insisted and wouldn't budge and argued, I want to fight this guy, you make the fight, it would have taken place. Because we've known fighters to stand up to managers and lay it on the line. You got to make this fight. And the manager, even though he might have some misgivings, hey, look, Cus D'Amato, he didn't want Floyd Patterson to fight Sonny Liston when he handled him.
And Patterson eventually overruled him.
And it showed you, Patterson, what a great champion he was. Maybe not so much in the ring, but as far as being a true champion, intestinal fortitude, Patterson had it. He was.
But Jack, I'm not sure the point you're making. I'm not sure the point that you're making. Ali did fight Frazier. He did fight him, and he lied to himself to convince himself that he thought he won the fight. He convinced a lot of the public that he won the fight, and he was never going to take less money because he didn't need him. He was still the biggest name in the sport and the draw.
But the bottom line is, despite what you said before, they did go 50-50 on the rematch. Ali didn't get more money than Frazier for the rematch, because that's how badly
I'm going to take your word for that, Jack. I don't remember it that way, but you seem more emphatic than I am. So I'm going to take your word for it, okay? But, Jack, just remember this. Ali didn't need to beat Frazier after their first fight because he was being treated like the champion and paid like the champion.
But
he didn't need that title.
He needed it for the record books, and he recognized that factor, that it would always go down as an official defeat. I listen.
It worked out better for him anyhow, Jack. Do you realize that? It worked out better.
I remember when I interviewed Tommy Hearns, okay, after he retired, and we talked about the Sugar Ray Leonard fights. And I talked to him about the second Leonard fight, and I said, no, Sugar Ray feels you won that fight. You should have gotten the decision. This was late in Hearns' career, I'm sorry. And he said he wants to fight Leonard again. He says it's very nice of Sugar Ray to say I won the fight. But the bottom line is I didn't. If you look in the record book, it was a draw, bottom line. Even though I appreciate him giving that opinion, at the end of the day, it doesn't count, that opinion. And that's what would have stuck with it. Would have, let's say Ali and Frazier never fought. I think this is what the perception always would have been, that Ali beat Frazier up so bad, Frazier couldn't fight again. And I think that would have been a perception, even if Frazier retired after fighting Daniels and Stander. Okay? They would have said it's the beating he took. He fought two guys who couldn't fight. He wasn't the same. And the thought would have been, had Frazier retired unbeaten, the perception now would have been, with a lot more people, maybe the majority, Frank, that Ali really won the fight of the century. That's the crazy part about it. Now,
Jack, you're right, because But Jack, going back to Hearns, you're using Hearns. Hearns was not the icon, as great as he was, that Ali was. And Ali was so convincing, and he had such a way and charisma with people that it just carried over. Jack, even to today, I run into guys that say, oh, Ali put Frazier in the hospital and he really won that fight. That means nothing. He did not win that fight. And Jack, he is the only fighter, maybe athlete ever, that could be the loser of the biggest sporting event, at least of our lifetime, and probably the 20th century, and still be recognized in most circles as the greatest, where it did not hurt him because of his dominance of his personality and plus his ability. But the point is, he didn't need that. He did not need to share purse with Frazier. And I got news for you, Jack, on the other side. If you're Frazier, now remember, you can't think clearly living in the moment, but looking back, if I was Joe Frazier and we split the purse the first time and I convincingly beat him, and now there's no doubt I'm the champ of the world, I'm not giving him purse parity. I don't care what his personality is. I'm not giving him purse parity. I could see why Frazier stuck to his guns and didn't make a business decision. He would have been better off if he would have made a business decision, because he would have never had to fight George Foreman. If you think about it, Jack, if you think about it, and this is part of the conversation last night that I had with my buddy. I said, if for some reason Mrs. Foreman miscarried George and he was never born, Joe Frazier's probably number 3 all time, only behind Ali and Joe Louis. But because of the Foreman fight, the perception is everybody out there that has a big punch could beat him. No, that's wrong. They're not George Foreman. But it turned out to be a massive mistake on his part, business-wise and career-wise.
Let's say George Foreman didn't come along. How much longer would Frazier? He lost the title. 22 months after beating Ali in the fight of the century. He would have had to fight someone, if not Foreman, defend his title. Now, we know Frazier, after losing to Foreman, beat Joe Bugner like 5 months later. But he got into good shape for Bugner at that time. But would he have been, but the Frazier in Kingston wasn't as good as the Frazier 5 months later in London against Bugner. Because,
or as good as the one that fought Ali a year later.
It's possible Frazier would have gotten upset by even a guy like Joe Bugner at that point because he wouldn't have been in top form.
Yo, if Jack, if there's no Foreman, Ali and Frazier would have rematched in 73 because there was nowhere for Frazier to go. That would have been, it was the biggest money fight. There was no big contender out there aside from maybe Foreman. The Chavalos and Lyle was too young. Shavers wasn't around. Norton hadn't made a name yet. They would have fought. They would have had the rematch in mid 73 if there's no Foreman.
Fight that never got made that Frazier could have made. I don't know what it would have done for his reputation because he had a low. After the fight of the century, he wasn't close to being the same fighter. I think until he at least fought Bugner somewhat close, and then with the fighter who beat Jerry Quarry and fought Ali Manila, he resembled the same fight as the fight of the century. He was a force for those fights. But at that time, listen to the timeline, Frank. No one ever mentions this, to my knowledge. He loses to Foreman in January 1973, but Floyd Patterson fights Ali in September of 72. A few months before. Why didn't the Frazier people offer Patterson a shot at the title? Because Patterson probably would have bypassed Ali. I know Patterson was anxious to get in the ring with Ali to get a semblance of redemption after the way he lost their first fight. But that would have been a marketable fight. Very interesting fight. And the Frazier of Kingston wasn't a good version of Joe Frazier. But Patterson may have given him a lot of trouble, that version of Joe Frazier.
But Jack, remember, Frazier fought Standard in May. Patterson already signed to fight Ali in September. So
that was 4 months later. You're sure he might not have signed? It was 4 months later.
Standard and Frazier fought May 25th of 72. Ali and Patterson fought September 20th of 72. So that fight had to have been made.
But they talk before the fight, before the fight to Patterson. Would you be interested in fighting Joe next? We want to have another fight this year. We want to fight in January. And I got to believe Patterson, I got to believe he would have taken the title shot with Frazier. But
Jack, could Frazier offer to him? Floyd was 37 there. Can he fight Patterson, defend the title 10 years almost to the day after he lost it to Liston? Frazier's not getting any credit for that fight. They're not going to let. And Patterson was ranked, 7th or 8th?
Ali fought Patterson, and it created a lot of interest because Patterson.
That's Ali.
Wait. But Patterson, the fight before that, beat Oscar Bonavena.
Bonavena, right.
It legitimately beat him. Very close fight. He rallied the last 2 rounds. I had it 5-4, 1 even in rounds at the time. So Patterson could still fight. It wasn't a deteriorated Patterson.
Jack, after Standard, Frazier had to defend against a top contender.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't done it in over a year after he fought Ali. So he could have never, they would have stripped him if he fought Patterson. It wouldn't have been a ton of money. He wouldn't have gained anything by beating him. I don't think he would have had any trouble beating Floyd as much as I like Floyd. So look, things worked out the way they did. The only thing that kind of threw a monkey in it was George Foreman. And again, if you think about it, look how everything worked out for Ali. Ali doesn't have a rematch with Frazier because he won't accept he demanded purse parity. So what happens? Foreman comes along, he beats Frazier. That speeds up the rematch he had with Frazier, and then Ali gets a shot to beat Foreman, which would have given him, which gave him a much bigger platform than if he would have just fought Frazier in a rematch. Because Foreman looked like the greatest player ever.
Yeah, but I think we went a little off the rails initially. This discussion with Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis. I put the blame completely on Riddick Bowe. Why the fight with Lennox Lewis never took place. Lennox Lewis, and Lennox Lewis isn't one of my favorites. He has a personality that kind of puts you off.
I'm not crazy about him personally.
I'm not crazy about him personally, the way he is. Maybe he's a nice guy if you spend time with him.
I think a lot of him as a fighter, though.
Yeah. And Bowe is so much more personable, than Lennox Lewis if you bump into him. But again, I don't know Lennox Lewis well enough, so I'm not putting him down. I don't want anyone to think I'm saying he's a bad guy at all. But Lennox Lewis wanted that fight in the worst way with Bowe. And you could blame Rock Newman all you want, throwing the WC belt in the trash can and all. And I put it all on Bowe because he could have told Rock Newman, no, you're going to make the fight. I don't give a darn. You could yell all you want. You better make this fight. Don't call me up until you negotiate the fight. And don't come back to me and say that Lennox made it so hard in the money thing about it, because I'll check with Lennox as far as that goes.
Jack, I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, it has to be put on Bowe. But two things to that. One, there's a case where the fighter listened to the manager, and we can argue forever and a day. Was it the right thing to do? Maybe he would have beat Lennox Lewis. Maybe he wouldn't have. We can't guess that, but he listened to the manager in this case. The other thing is, what history has shown us is, of the two of them, and again, at their best, I'm not sure who was actually better. Lewis got a lot better late once he was with Manny Stewart. But of the two of them, what do we know? We know that Lewis was more the real fighter. He never got out of shape. He was willing to fight everybody. He never took step aside money. So we can go by what they both put into the sport, that Lewis turned out to be the more genuine guy. And I guess that worked out because history looks at him as the greater fighter.
Yeah, and it's a matter of opinion who would have won at their best. I think history kind of shows us both guys at the top of their game. Lewis probably stops Bowe, probably. But at the time, had they fought, I still think Lewis beats him. I think Lewis beats him whenever they fought, but he absolutely would have beaten him when he was in peak form later on, I got to believe. But with that said, it's not so one-sided. We like to give this example, Frank. If they fought the best 4 out of 7, I don't think Lewis wins 4-0. I think Bowe beats him, one at a time.
The only thing I'll add to what you say, because I basically agree with most of it, two things. I believe if they would have fought in 93, the first half of 93, when the fight was authentic, I think I would have picked Bowe. I will say this on top of that as point 2. The Riddick Bowe who showed up for the first fight with Evander Holyfield, I'm not sure Lewis beats that guy. I don't know if Bowe is ever that guy again, but if I can take Bowe from November of 92 and just drop him in against Lennox Lewis on any night, I'm not sure Lewis wins.
For one night,
that Bowe, Jack. I mean, I would like to see that Bowe against the best Holmes, the best Ali, the best Frazier, the best Tyson. That Bowe, sort of like Buster Douglas and how he beat Tyson, was a great, great fighter. And that not many guys are beating him that night.
I understand what you're saying. I had that type of discussion with Max Kellerman in regard to the Pernell
I'm just looking at the score. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pernell Whitaker and Roberto Duran. Pernell Whitaker was one of Max's big favorites.
Right.
And he felt Pernell Whitaker was greater than Roberto Duran, would have beaten him, this and that. And I said, look, if they fought 10 times, maybe Whitaker would have won the majority of the fights. I probably would have picked them to do that. But the Duran that beat Ken Buchanan, he would have beaten the best version of Duran that night, the way he came out against Buchanan, who to me is one of the most underrated fighters I ever saw. People don't realize how great Buchanan was.
He was outstanding. You're right.
Brilliant. But that Roberto Duran would have beaten the best version of Pernell Whitaker. But how often did we see that version of Duran? The Duran who beat a fight you were at against Edwin Viruet. That Duran, I don't think beats Pernell Whitaker.
What do you think? So you think the Buchanan version of Duran was the best?
Yeah,
his very first title fight.
And the first Leonard fight. Those two fights.
No, I mean a lightweight.
Yeah,
at lightweight. You think that Duran was better than the Duran that beat the Jesus the third time? I think the 78 Duran was actually better, Jack, than the Buchanan.
Maybe a better fighter, but the Fury he fought with against Buchanan, he fought with that Fury 2 times in his career. The first Leonard fight, Leonard couldn't do a thing with him the first 4 rounds. The guy was in another level. He was a level better than Sugar Ray Leonard. That sounds crazy to be a level better than Leonard. And he came out against Buchanan the same way. He was unstoppable.
You remember he knocked Buchanan down in the first round, like what, a minute in?
Well, he hit him in the shoulder, and Buchanan, being the great champion he is, if anyone wants to go to the tape to YouTube, he hit Buchanan. I mean, Buchanan hit Duran a shot, and he actually stunned Duran. He had him in his tracks, like, wow, did he hurt him for a moment? I mean, Buchanan had a set of legs on him and stamina and punch resistance. He needed.
I was a big Buchanan fan back then. I almost cried that night. I remember that night. It was a Thursday night because the following night, Ali fought Quarry and Bob Foster fought Mike Quarry the following night. And I remember that Thursday night. It was on TV. Dunphy made the call, and I was a big Buchanan fan. I remember reading about Duran in Ring Magazine, but really hadn't seen him. And I thought, okay, well, he's going to get, he's going to run into the real deal tonight. And I'll tell you what, Duran came out like a wounded lion in that fight. He was only 21 years old and 132 pounds.
Reckless abandon. He had not a worry in the world. I mean, it makes me think with getting older, when I think of the amount of fights I went to, you're probably thinking the same way. You could go back-to-back nights, they're late nights, and you don't even blink. You're looking so forward. I was at the Garden for Duran Buchanan the next night at the movie theater to see, the Ali Quarry and Bob Foster, Mike Quarry, match. Yeah.
I didn't go to either fight. I saw Duran on TV, and I went to the closed circuit at the Cherry Hill Arena for Ali and Quarry and Foster and Quarry.
Okay.
Well, those were the days, Jack.
The 3 fights. If you had to name a fighter of the nights, because there were 2 nights, not nights. They were 1 night apart. Duran beating Buchanan, Ali dominating Quarry, looking masterful, and Bob Foster destroying Mike Quarry. The 3 of them, Duran, Ali, Foster. Who gets the Frank Laterzo Cup for the fight of the night? You had to award it to one of them, and they gave you a decision. They say, Frank, it's up to you.
That's hard, Jack, because Duran beat a better opponent than Bob Foster did. But I have to be honest. When I saw Bob Foster knock out Mike Quarry, I literally thought I saw a man die in the ring that night because I thought he killed him. And Quarry didn't move for a while. I thought he killed him. So I guess Foster would probably have to get the cup.
I guess if you talk about the most devastating one-punch knockout in boxing history, maybe that's it. They are not the most important. Obviously, we love Sugar Ray Robinson, the way he KO'd an Iron Man, Gene Fullmer, dramatically to regain the title.
I don't think I've ever seen another knockout. I thought Leonard seriously hurt Dave Boy Green with that left hook, but Jack, I was flirting in my mind thinking that Bob Foster just killed Mike Quarry. That was as devastating as I've ever seen.
The one fight that put a lot of fear into me that I saw in person, and I was ringside up close, was when Razor Ruddock knocked out Michael Dokes. I was scared how seriously hurt, that Dokes could be.
Wasn't he suspended in the air for a minute and then Bruddy came in and ripped him again?
I don't. He just hit him a couple of those smashes. That was what it was called. Another one that was a devastating knockout. Oh, and it had such major implications. Julian Jackson knocking out Harold Graham. Graham completely dominated the fight, was about to win the title, completely outclassed Julian Jackson. He has Julian in the corner. He's about to
And that
finish
right
him
hand.
off. And
Boom.
Julian Jackson lashes out one punch. And you think about it, Ned, we're never the same again, Harold Graham, because Harold Graham was this great amateur. He was considered like a wonder boy, destined to be champion, and he never got there. He was kind of like the Jerry Quarry of the middleweight division, but his expectations were actually a little higher than Quarry. I mean, Quarry, we now see the problem was Ali and Frazier. That was, he wasn't going to beat Foreman Quarry, but they never fought. But, Quarry's missed opportunity was Jimmy Ellis. He had the bad back. He wasn't quite as experienced. But I think, Frank, we ran over. We
ran out of time, Jack, because you wouldn't stop, and I love it. And one day, next week, we'll talk about the Quarry Foreman, because I have some thoughts on that. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.